The Toronto Maple Leafs and the Toronto Raptors, two teams in the same city who are still striving for their next championship. However, one team has that successful taste still lingering in their mouth from a 2019 championship. The other hasn't won a championship since 1967. But which team is going to be the next one to get that championship? Let's get into it. What is up, everybody? This is Amateur Hour Sports, the channel where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors at least 4 days a week. We got a little bit different than our usual Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule this week. We did Monday, Tuesday. This one is Thursday, and we also have another video coming out on Saturday. But if you like what you see from today's video and you want more of myself talking about the Raptors and basketball in videos and content just like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below to show your support to the channel. We just hit 3,000 subscribers on the channel. Thank you so much for the great love and support on the channel. We are starting our road to 4,000 subscribers now, but let's get into our topic for today. So, it's kind of like who is going to win the next championship out of the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Toronto Raptors. But I think, we're going to talk a little bit more about, who's closer to getting there. That's where we currently are at, because it's very difficult to perceive where the championship are going to come, especially for Toronto. The Raptors, I've called them a small market, and people don't like that I call them a small market. But the thing about the Raptors being what I call a small market, that's in terms of free agency. We have yet to really put a stamp on the free agency market, and that's how I mean. Raptors, obviously, in terms of the fan base, in terms of global output, that is a big market team. But in terms of getting those free agents, you can't cut corners when you're a Toronto Raptors team. You have to go out and earn everything. You can't have a situation like the Brooklyn Nets when they got KD, or the Golden State Warriors when they got KD. You can't have those situations there. The Raptors have to go earn their championships through the draft and through trades. They drafted the likes of DeMar DeRozan, they traded for the likes of Kyle Lowry, and ultimately worked those guys up to trade DeMar DeRozan to get Kawhi Leonard, bring in Kawhi Leonard, and go win a championship. Now that Kawhi's gone, the Raptors are looking to rebuild the formula that got us that 2019 NBA championship. But the Maple Leafs have been experimenting with their own recipes for years and years and years, and it's never really quite panned out. And the Raptors, looking at this team having been 2 years removed, I think they're in a much better position. Looking at the Leafs trajectory, it's been 54 years since they won a championship. I don't think they've been closer since, let's say, the early 90s, the Doug Gilmour, the Wendell Clark era, where they go down in 7 to a Wayne Gretzky-led LA Kings team, maybe with a little bit of help from officiating, who did miss a high sticking call on Wayne Gretzky at the time. But the fact that we are still hung up, and I wasn't even alive at that point, the fact that we're still hung up on little moments like that don't go our way means that there has been limited success to talk about. We can talk about all the LeBronto era for the Toronto Raptors and, all the hurt, the getting swept by the Wizards in the first round. But all of that kind of gets put to bed, and it's just kind of in the back seat where you can't really hear it because you've got the championship now to flaunt it. That's the loudest thing there. That's what people talk about. You can still present the LeBronto argument and everything, but bottom line is, there's a ring on the finger of many of the Raptors and all of the ones who are on this banner right beside me, because they did that. They won a championship. They addressed their demons and went out and won that championship. The Leafs have yet to do that. They can't even win a damn playoff series, let alone going to win a championship. So whose foundation is in place to win a championship? Let's get started with the Toronto Raptors. That's for all. This is a Toronto Raptors channel. We're talking about the Leafs today because, it's fresh in our minds. It's something relevant to talk about, but I think this is the last time we will address the Maple Leafs on this channel for a very, very long time. But let's look at the Toronto Raptors first of all. So this is a team who, theoretically did worse than the Maple Leafs this year. At least the Maple Leafs made it to the playoffs. In fact, we're the 1 seed coming out of the North Division, albeit maybe the North Division wasn't the most competitive, but, you can only beat what's in front of you. The Maple Leafs did that. They were first in the North. And the Raptors missed out on the playoffs and have the 7th best odds at the first overall pick, a 31.9% chance at a top 4 pick in this upcoming NBA draft. Lottery is just around the corner, and Raptors fans are very excited to see what we get there. But looking at this Raptors team, I think that the core is already in place. I say it so much. The core is in place. I am very happy with a young core of Siakam, Anunoby, and Van Vliet. Siakam, I would say about just getting into his prime. I'm expecting a better season next year than the one he had this season. I think he's going to get that 3-point percentage back up. Anunoby, nowhere near his prime, 23 years old, and only getting better and better and better every season. And Fred Van Vliet, I think, is set to take another gem this season, put himself in a near all-star conversation, but I don't think he won't just quite get there. He'll just be right on the outside of those all-star teams. But still, that's fine for me. That's a good player to have on your team. Building around those guys, if Gary Trent is there, you help build around him. If Kyle Lowry's still there, you build around him as well. He's a leader that can help any young guys coming in. And we're going to add in that top 10 draft pick. Now, how good that pick is going to be remains to be seen. But a good core is in place with the ability to strengthen that core with a good draft pick coming in. Could be a generational talent coming in the draft if things go our way. There is a definitive path for success for the Toronto Raptors. If you told me that in the next 5 years the Raptors are going to win a championship, I'd be a little bit surprised, but I'd say, okay, you know what? The organization has worked towards this core that can just keep going every season, and I understand how they managed to do that. But let's flip it to the Leafs now, who obviously have a great offensive core. They addressed the fact that last season they were super top heavy, didn't really have enough at the back, but they addressed that. They brought in some more solid D-core players. The offense is still very, very good. I think that they created 4 fluid lines who could produce offense on this team. Jack Campbell took a step up from what we expect him to be and was better than Freddie Anderson has been in previous seasons. But where is the win going to come from? Not a championship. Where is the series win going to come from? Because this was the year to do it. When the Raptors had the LeBronto era, 3 straight years of losing to LeBron, 1 in a conference final, 2 in a conference semifinals. The most recent of the 3 being getting swept by a 4-seed Cleveland Cavaliers in the second round of the playoffs. Our shining light, our ray of hope, was that the next season, LeBron was in the West, and the Lakers didn't even make the playoffs because LeBron was injured for much of the season. So the Raptors had a chance to address their playoff demons by going through an East without LeBron. They went through some formidable competition. People seem to forget. This Philadelphia 76ers team that they went through, Orlando was just a bit of a speed bump in Game 1, but cruised through that series. The second round, that was an utterly elite Philadelphia 76ers team. They had Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, and Jimmy Butler. That is an absolutely elite 4 players, an elite core of 4 players, not to mention a very good complementary player in JJ Redick on that team. JJ Redick's not a star, but to complement those guys with his 3-point shooting, that was an absolutely sensational team that the Raptors fortunately come through on the back of a buzzer beater in Game 7. I'm sure you've seen a couple highlights of that buzzer beater. Then we get to the conference final where we played the Milwaukee Bucks. Middleton and Bledsoe didn't quite show up. Giannis didn't have a great series because he still lives in the nightmare of the Marc Gasol and Kawhi Leonard double. Get to the final. The rest is history. The Raptors, they went through an East without LeBron. The Maple Leafs, their playoff demon has typically been the Boston Bruins. 3 times in the last decade, they have lost to the Boston Bruins in the first round in a Game 7. The most notable of that, 2013, the Leafs were up 4-1 late in the third period and ultimately collapse and fall 5-4 in overtime. But this season, we're actually in the playoffs. Last season, I wouldn't really count it as a playoffs. You lose to Columbus in 5. That wasn't really a playoff. That was like a qualifying round. This season, you're in the playoffs, and what do you know? No Atlantic Division. You don't have to go through Boston. This has to be your year. Just like the Raptors. LeBron left the East. This was the year you had to go do something because LeBron isn't here. The Leafs, Boston isn't here. You have to go do something. They get the Montreal Canadiens, who are 18th in the NHL in terms of the record. The Leafs tied for 5th in terms of the record. Big favorites here. They fall in 7. They lose 3 games in a row. They lose game 5, 6, and 7 without having ever led in any of those games. Sure, they went to 2 overtimes, but they were never in the lead for any of those games. Never really looked like winning any. Game 6 overtime, maybe, but never really looked like they were going to go out and win those games. There's maybe that lack of heart and desire that, where is that going to come from? Certainly a trade needs to happen. I don't think that management needs changing. I think Dubas and Shanahan have done a great job of putting this great team together, but something is missing from this team, and there's no way, I don't think, that you can go out and find it very quickly. I don't really know what this team lacks. It has goaltending, it has veteran presence, I think it has grit and grind, and it obviously has some insane offensive talent. Maybe it just lacks those big game players, but do you trade your stars in order to acquire those big game players? Who are the big game players? Because hockey is very streaky. You don't know who's going to come up big in those playoff situations. But looking at the Raptors team, looking at the Raptors, who they again have that foundation in place, and they have that winning culture. I think that's the separation here, which leads me to believe that the Raptors are going to be the next team to win a championship. If you told me the Maple Leafs are going to win a championship in the next 5 years, I would be blown away. Like, how on earth did they manage to do that? You tell me the Raptors do it again, I'd be surprised, but I'd understand how it happened, because again, the foundation is in place with the Raptors where it is not quite in place with the Leafs. There is a winning culture present in this Raptors team. There are a couple guys on this Raptors team like Pascal Siakam, who is going to be there next season, possibly Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet as well, who have been there in the biggest moment in Game 6 of the NBA Finals and got it done. Siakam had the championship-winning bucket in Game 6. Fred VanVleet put up 14 points in the fourth quarter of that Game 6. Kyle Lowry had, I think, 26 points in that game and had the first 11 points of the game for the Raptors. It was 11-4 at one point. Kyle Lowry had all 11 points for the Raptors in that Game 6. There are so many seasoned guys who have gotten it done, who had the championship DNA, who've been there, who know how to do it, and the foundation and winning culture is in place. The Maple Leafs haven't won a playoff series since 2004. Again, 21 years old. I don't know what it's like. I said this in last year. I don't know what it's like to watch the Maple Leafs win a playoff series, because I don't remember that one in 2004. I was too young to remember that. There is no winning culture present. There's no belief that when they get into the playoffs, they're going to go win a series. Sure, I thought they would, but there's that true inner belief they are going to actually do it. Like if the Raptors get into a playoff series, I have the faith that yes, they are going to get this done. When they went down 1-0 to Orlando, sure, I was like, oh my God, game one's in the Raptors, but also just like, they're still going to go win this series. When it came to Philly, I'm like, you know what? Raptors in 7 here. I'm feeling the Raptors. I think they'd go win this series. And they did. When it got to Bucks down 2-0, sure, I had a little bit of doubt, but this team has too much fight for that. And sure, Kawhi Leonard going does change a few things there. But again, the foundation is in place. The management is in place. The team is in place. I think they just need to build around what they have. Get one really good trade again. That Kawhi Leonard type of trade. You don't need somebody as good as him, I don't think. But that one really good trade to just complete this team as a contender, that does it. But the Leafs, I don't know what they need. I truly have no idea what this team can do to improve on the team. With the money tied up in the likes of Mitch Marner, I think he's making $10.9 million a year. I don't know what that team needs to even win a playoff series, let alone a championship. The Raptors, I know exactly what they need. They need that ball-handling wing scorer who can score in isolation, who can get clutch buckets. Easier said than done acquiring that, but that is the piece that is missing of the puzzle. The Leafs are a puzzle fresh out of the box. You have no idea where anything goes. The Raptors, they're a lot closer. Sure, the Leafs maybe will win a championship before the Raptors do, but I can't see it. This Toronto Raptors team is in place to be contenders in the next 3 years. I think that we're maybe 2, 3, or 4 years away from being back in contention. Will that lead to a championship? They're so hard to win that you can't bank on that happening. But it's sure as hell a lot better of an opportunity for the Raptors to do it than the Maple Leafs to do it. So again, we talked a lot about the Leafs this week, back-to-back videos, but that's going to really end the Maple Leafs saga here. We're going to go back to the straight-up Raptors content after this video, but I still want to hear what you guys think about this topic. Do you guys think that the Maple Leafs or the Raptors will win their championship first? Let me know in the comments down below. But that wraps it up for me for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still here and watching, be sure to give this video a like to help us reach some new viewers with that algorithm. Also helps us on our road to 4,000 subscribers. Also hit up our twitch.tv/amateurhoursports. We watch a ton of NBA playoff games and do some other video game content as well. Everybody who comes to the stream has a really good time, so I know you will as well. Next to my head is the subscribe button. Again, we're on our road to 4,000 subscribers. We hit 5,000 by the end of 2021. I will shave my head again, and also some other videos by the channel you might want to check out. And always remember, at the end of the day, I believe what I say, and if you disagree, that is completely okay. See you again next time for another video.